Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for chairing the hearing. And of course, just like you, I want to extend a special welcome to Chief Flynn of the Milwaukee Police Department. I had the opportunity to meet with the chief a couple of months ago, and I was very impressed by the innovative ideas he's brought to the Milwaukee Police Department that have, in fact, resulted in great strides toward lowering the crime rate in that city. So I welcome you. I'm a long-term time supporter of defender of federal assistance to state and local law enforcement, as you know, in particular the burn justice assistance grants and the COPS grants. It's a partnership between the federal government and the state and local governments to provide adequate funding, and it's especially important now when state and local agencies are being tasked with homeland security responsibilities in addition to their law enforcement responsibilities, and when, of course, as we know, certainly in our state, and I know in many other states, state revenue sources are greatly threatened, diminished by the recession. I'm pleased that funding to support the invaluable services that state and local law enforcement provide after being slashed repeatedly by the previous administration were provided in the economic stimulus package that Congress passed this year, and now this money has begun to make its way to state and local agencies across the country. It's important that Congress continue to stay informed of the situation on the ground and provide assistance where necessary and appropriate. And so with that, I'd like to really just ask the Chief from Milwaukee to answer one question. What would you say have been the most important factors that contributed to the dramatic decrease in violent crime that you have overseen in Milwaukee in the past year? And do you face special challenges in trying to continue to reduce crime during this economic downturn?
I think I've benefited by an interlocking combination of circumstances. Number one, I arrived to a police department that was nearly fully staffed. The mayor had made a major commitment within existing resources to keep the numbers of Milwaukee police officers up to its table of organization level, which was remarkable. With that resource and with a commitment to data-driven policing that we developed in our first several months there, and a commitment to neighborhoods, those interlocking combinations of community connection, data-driven analysis to deploy our resources and adequate resources have allowed us to have a dramatic impact on crime. Last year we reduced homicides by 32%, but within that number is a more profound number. The number of African American men between the ages of 15 and 29 murdered in 2008 was 65% lower than it was in 2007, from 54 to 19. And that was a relentless focus on our crime hotspots, our gang areas, our open-air drug dealing, trying to break up the retaliatory cycle of violence. That takes people. That takes a commitment to getting officers in public spaces. And I sincerely believe it's borders on the disingenuous to cite places like Newark and Camden that have been urban blast zones in terms of poverty, unemployment, urban degradation, destruction of the local tax base, and then, like in Captain Reno in Casablanca, be shocked to find out that the cities used cops office hiring instead of local assets. They didn't have any money, and they had extraordinary crime. Now, I'm not here to defend bad practices, but I've also been a police officer a very long time and seen an extraordinary amount of inner-city violence. And it's highly concentrated in those cities that have the worst tax bases. Surprise, surprise. What's America's responsibility to its citizens? If you have the accident of birth to be born in Newark, does that mean you deserve to get shot? But if you get born in Summit, New Jersey, you deserve to be safe? It's absurd. All right, the safety challenges of American cities are not uniform across the country. And the only agency of government in a position to assist American cities at high risk of violence and American citizens at high risk of violence is to provide local government assistance. I'm looking at a city right now that's got a $40 million operating budget deficit right now as we speak. Why? Because the stock market collapsed with the employee pensions. And by charter, we have to fund it at 100%. Now, that 40 mil has to come out of an operating budget. That's going to put pressure on police and on firefighting and on roads and on every other such thing. And so as I'm applying for COPS money, trying to hold on to the officers I have and prudently expand the numbers we have, I know I'm going to be challenged going forward to continue to provide a safe environment for our citizens. And because of that, I certainly welcome the renewed interest in the United States government in the safety of its local government citizens.
Well, Mr. Chairman, I would have been pleased and proud to hear that answer from anyone in law enforcement, but I'm particularly proud that our chief of our largest city would be able to articulate that in such an eloquent and effective way. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.